What's up, creeps and creatures? Welcome back to another episode of Way Too Spooky. This is episode number 9. We're here from headquarters in Chris's basement. He's my co-host, Chris. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Good, Connor. How are you?
Doing great. And we're here with another enthusiast, a new guest to the show, Sean. Hi, Sean.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for having me on the podcast today.
Absolutely.
I definitely need a forum to vent about this movie.
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
You are the second biggest fan of the Halloween franchise I know.
Second,
nobody takes place of Chris. Chris is perhaps the biggest Michael Myers Halloween fan I've ever known. In fact, you can see it on footage just around. This isn't like a Halloween thing. This is just his basement all year round.
Yeah.
And he's got the...
It is. That's true.
He's got the thorn proof to show.
Halloween 6 thorn.
you gonna show that?
I
You
don't know
gonna
if
show
I
that
can
bad
show
boy
that.
off?
That's a tat.
Wow. That's
Very
commitment.
impressive.
Very impressive.
Very impressive.
That is commitment.
So this, and we felt that it's such a big franchise, but newly released Halloween Ends is the movie we're going to talk about.
Highly anticipated Halloween Ends, right?
Highly anticipated. Now, this is the third installment to the new segment, right? Because this is a very long.
Well, I guess it would be considered
Complicated
the
franchise.
4th installment, right, of the new
Technically, right? Because it starts with Halloween 78,
Right.
and then it goes into the trilogy.
Right.
So this new installments, they completely left out, 3, 4, 5, 6? and
All
then-
of them.
2,
It's-
3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, they didn't even pick it up from
right?
2?
Yeah, starts from Halloween.
I thought they would have picked
Not
up
even
from
the
two.
sister.
They didn't want the brother-sister angle.
No.
Gotcha. Okay, so to any outsider, it could be very confusing. But
Lots of timelines.
off the bat, we're not going to obviously rate it yet, but was this movie a letdown to you, Chris?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100% let down compared from what the 2018 version I thought was great. It
Me
really
too.
picked up off of the 78 version, and it was
Yeah.
it was awesome. Laurie Strode was badass. She was much better, much stronger, much more prepared for Michael than she was in the 78 version. She'd
Right.
been training for 40 years for him to finally come out
Right.
and I guess go after her again. And then you get Halloween Kills, which is, I'd say it's more like the fluff for the gore the fans of like a true slasher where it's just a bunch of kills.
Right.
And then you come up with this steaming pile of, in my opinion, garbage,
Yeah.
which is so odd to me because they had a good thing going. It was just,
Well, you're shaking your head because I think you agree with what he has to say so far.
This is what I have to say about it, okay? So after watching the movie, while I was watching the movie,
Right.
I was definitely disappointed. But I've seen the movie now 3 times. I don't know why. I'm kind of a little bit of a nut job because I kept watching it, hoping to like it more and more.
Yeah.
I think, though, that this movie, in and of itself, is a good movie, right? But it's not a good Halloween movie. It's a
Right.
horrible Halloween movie.
yes.
If this movie was released as like some kind of anthology
Right.
to Halloween after this conclusion, I think everybody would have liked it, right? And you don't even need Michael Myers in this movie.
Yeah.
Like you really don't need him in the
I was
movie.
getting that sense though because the fonts of this movie,
Yes.
Halloween Ends, are actually the same fonts as Halloween 3, which was
Right.
the same idea that John Carpenter and Deborah Hill had, that
Right.
it was going to be an anthology theme. Halloween 2 was supposed to end Michael Myers' run,
Right.
and then they were going to start a new anthology, and every movie thereafter was going to be something new, just based around the Halloween name.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where maybe they were trying to go with it.
As soon as I saw the Halloween 3 font, I knew we were in for kind of a strange movie. I mean, I've heard kind of the rumors about the Corey character and the copycat thing,
Right.
but the way that it played out was bizarre. And there's one particular scene in this movie, and I think you guys know where I'm going with this, that I think everybody looked at it and said, what the fuck? You know,
Right.
like, excuse pardon my French. I don't know if this is a PG-13
This is way
podcast.
too spooky. We
But,
have higher standards
yes.
than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We watch our potty mouth on here.
that's right. We have kids listening.
And Chris, I'm sure you're going to agree with me as far as like the scene that I'm talking about, that it totally disrespected the character of Michael Myers, right? And it kind of nerfed him in a way that it just after that I was done with the movie.
Well, we'll jump into that. Let's
Yeah.
not get too far ahead of ourselves.
But this latest installment, these latest 3, is it the same director? and producer.
David Gordon Green.
So I will say the one in 2018 was very good.
Yeah.
To me, there's a certain formula that makes Halloween Michael Myers good. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a movie that's on in the future, like on AMC Fear Fest, where I sit down and just watch it. But Halloween, to me, always had that effect to it. It's kind of like the Goodfellas of horror movies. When it's on TV, I don't care if it's 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, 5. It doesn't matter which scene it is. You just watch it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
the AMC.
I think with this particular franchise, it's a big nostalgia thing because that's in and around Halloween. It's
Sure. Yeah, none of them are actually
Scary.
great movies beyond the first one, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
And 2018 version is pretty good.
And I think when I was a kid, this one stood out more than any other slasher. I never really got into the Jasons or Freddys that much.
Yeah.
This was always the one. Now, I don't know if it's just because you're a biggest fan I've ever met, but this one I think resonates with people who don't even really know the movie. Like when you hear that score, it's kind of like Jaws. I think everybody knows the score of John Carpenter's, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the score, it's the mask, it's the name is Halloween. I mean, you can't get away from Halloween from what?
Right.
End of August through October 31st. It's just that's all you hear.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the movie, it's just you relate it to the name. Oh, I can't wait for Halloween. What are you wearing for Halloween? Halloween.
Yeah. It's very smart marketing. About it.
Yeah. It was supposed to be called the Babysitter Murders, I think it was called.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a one-off. Like Halloween in and of itself was supposed to be a one and done.
The trilogy. It was supposed to be an anthology, like you said.
Well, no. I mean, Halloween, the original 78 Halloween was supposed to be a one and done. There was supposed to be no sequels.
Right.
Made so much money that they went back to John Carpenter, and then he came up with the whole brother-sister angle. He didn't even want to do the movie.
Yeah.
No.
Right?
So when I go back and watch, like, you're looking for certain things. I thought the one before this did a good job in the beginning, but then the ridiculous story that they tried to make with this one, that he somehow... I liked the first scene of Halloween Ends. I thought it was interesting.
So did I.
Well, let's jump into that. How about
Yeah, we're going to jump into it. I didn't think it started off bad. And the follow-up scenes, when the kid fell, when she was talking about how everybody has, they're always high alert. They're always, people are inside their own heads thinking it's Michael Myers for everything.
Yeah.
I thought they were going in a good direction.
Yeah.
I did not think we'd had to return to him living in the sewer, being taken care of by an old man. And then somehow he puts his powers onto other people to carry out his acts. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What was it 4 that kind of did that? Where he was living with that like hermit?
That's 5.
5. I'm like, they kind of went to that angle again, didn't they?
5 was, I think, the basement of the series before this one
I
came
would
out.
agree with you. Now, most people in rankings would say the 6th one, which I totally disagree with, but this one is the new bottom.
It could be. We were just watching the 6, and that one's got some great scenes in it.
Yeah.
I get the whole Thorn trilogy thing's not for everybody, and I know we don't need to dive into that. We have a lot.
We're
to
gonna
talk
have
about
we
with
definitely have
Ends,
another podcast for that. That's just
So let's just jump in. So the guy Corey, he's the babysitter this one
Yeah.
on the first night, right? And he's babysitting this little brat of a kid who doesn't want to just do normal things as a kid. He wants to watch The Thing, which is another John Carpenter movie. Which
That's right. Yeah.
is playing homage to that. The kid winds up taking a knife and goes upstairs and acts like he's been taken by someone. We're assuming
By Michael Myers. Yeah.
And then he locks Corey up in that attic.
Yeah.
And then Corey, I guess, on edge like everyone else is. He's
Right.
a little creeped out and he tries to kick himself out. Winds up kicking the kid
Yeah.
over the banister, three stories down. This is the biggest house I've ever seen in my entire
Huge house. Awesome staircase, by the way.
Great house in that.
I thought the sets were great in this movie, by the way. The settings, the lighting, like the first scene, I loved the lighting.
It was eerie when they looked up the staircase.
It was super
I'm like,
eerie.
something's gonna happen.
You didn't know if Michael was lurking around. So, that first scene did set you up for a lot of suspense. It was the only scene that had any kind of suspense.
Yeah,
right,
but it grabbed you from the beginning. I will say they failed me on when the Universal came. Usually they play dark music, or I wish they'd do a throwback like Mr. Sandman.
Right.
But they were playing some other song, and I was like, all right.
It just didn't feel like
It didn't feel like it, and I did like how they had the pumpkin morphin. I always like the beginning of these Halloween movies where they show the pumpkin either morphin or
and I actually
or
liked,
splitting
I
open.
did I liked the opening credits.
Yeah.
Right? I thought it was really cool. The only thing that scared me was I saw the Halloween 3 font, and I was thinking to myself, this is going to be a strange movie.
Yeah.
Because I think they were just kind of alluding to the fact that they were doing something different.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess that's 2019. It's supposed to be a year after Michael went away. Killed killed Karen's Laurie Strode's daughter Karen.
Right.
He went and he just goes missing.
Yeah.
And then it fast forwards to another 3 years after that.
Yeah, so it's 1 year. The opening scene occurs 1 year after Kills, right? And then it's 4 years in total once they come out of that, out of the opening scene.
Yeah.
So Corey, he's the main character. He does time for like 4 years, right? He comes
I don't know
back.
if I think he does time. I think he just
he doesn't.
He's found not guilty, but everyone in Haddonfield thinks of him as the new murderer. He murdered a kid.
And then the whole angle of this movie, he does indeed become dark and that killer. And Michael Myers is, I guess he's just living in a sewer. I actually had to stop watching it with 20 minutes left, and I rewatched the 20 minutes because I was like, I don't know.
Well, that's the whole problem. Was they're trying to sell you on the fact that, all right, I started to think about this. Laurie Strode's daughter, she's been preparing for 40 years, and then on the same night in the second hill, her daughter dies. Right. And Michael goes missing.
Yeah.
So then she decides to liberate herself?
Yeah, what happened on that night, it was worse than what happened to her in 78. Yeah. Right? Like, her daughter got killed, her friends were killed, she was stabbed brutally. Like, what happened to her in 78, right? A couple of her friends got killed, and then she got, a minor wound, right? That's obviously is going to cause some trauma. But you go into 2018, right? And she's like Sarah Connor, right? She's got like the shotgun. She's shooting the mannequins. She's in the woods. She's crazy. And then this crazy night happens. And then Michael Myers kills her daughter at the end, kills the entire mob, right? Disappears into the ether. Disappears into the ether, and then everybody just forgets about him, right? And everything's fine. She moves into town. She's right in the heart of Haddonfield in like a cozy house, and her and Allison are buddied up. It's a really strange character development.
Yeah.
I've heard people like this version of Laurie, but I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't make sense.
It does. Like after that all happened, you'd be even more messed up and more prepared for him. Like, he's still out there.
Exactly. He's right there.
Well, it's because he only comes back to Haddonfield, and I mentioned it before the cast. I said there was a comic who said, like, this could all be avoided if, like, he just moved one town over.
That's true.
Like, you don't have to stay in Haddonfield your entire life.
You don't.
Or just take a vacation, come October 27th, maybe till like November 7th or something.
So Corey, I guess, after the opening sequence, is like he seems like a nice guy. He's an outcast, but he's picked on by the band members.
There's always dickheads in every Halloween
I was
movie.
cracking up.
There was like the meanest bully. It reminded me of Rob Zombie
marching
Halloween.
Band.
Yeah,
the marching band was bullying.
I think that's another problem I had with this movie is that there's not a single likable character in this movie.
No,
everyone that dies, like you're like, yeah, we had it coming. Whereas in the other ones, it's like, oh, Karen died. Well, she was a good character. I'm surprised she died.
Right.
Or Allison's friends in the first one. They were the cliche deaths. Yeah, but they weren't bad. They were having underage sex or all that stuff. The typical reasons for death in a slasher movie, right? But they were still likable characters on screen. Yeah. None of these characters. I don't like Corey. Allison's hard to. I don't like her.
The scene with Corey's on the motorcycle and she's on the back. I'm like, is this like the Lost Boys?
Yeah.
They tried to put it in like that. It was symphonic or what is it? The music.
Yeah.
They're trying to give like Stranger Things or like.
At one point, did it enter your mind that Allison was kind of in on it with Corey? Like, because it cut to a motorcycle scene where she was on the back of the motorcycle after him and Michael went on that murdering spree of the doctor and the nurse, right? Like she was on the bike in the very next scene, and I was thinking like, was she in on that because she got passed over for the promotion? It was a strange
it's annoying because they tried too hard, and you just want to just tell the director there's a simple formula that people are looking for with Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a nostalgia thing that the older fans want. There's the music. There's the stalking. Good kills.
There's no stalking.
It doesn't have to be like, well, he's getting into people's minds. Now people are going to be just like him, like a serial killer, and you're passing it on to
it just came out of nowhere. They weren't like, you'd think that if they did that there would be a build-up from the first and the second one.
None. It was this latest 3 installments was just 2018, very good. The one before this started off good and then got stupid, and this was just garbage. I'm like, why do they keep tanking these franchises?
They could have ended this on kills, and it would have been a more fitting ending. Like it would have been a more fitting ending.
He's old
for
as
him
shit,
to disappear into the ether.
How old is Michael Myers now?
What is it, 60, 65?
And he still has superhuman strength.
Well, that's the thing, though. He didn't, though, in this one.
No, he went off. Well, it's funny because
he's in the cave, right?
He's in the sewers hanging out,
and then he
with an old man.
Remember the cop goes after him.
Yeah,
who's Allison's ex-boyfriend.
Yeah,
again, he's not likable either.
No,
and the guy like fights off Michael and like pushes him over, and then Michael looks like he's struggling to get up. Like his arms all like cocked, and he
makes more noises.
And then as he starts to kill him, it's almost like he gets strength.
Yeah.
Is that? Am I interpreting that correctly?
Is. So I kind of look after I watched the film. I dove into some reviews. I started Googling some stuff. Apparently, David Gordon Green was going for the angle of Michael Myers was like a wounded animal, like just going off to die. Right?
Yeah.
And the whole message of this movie apparently is that evil never dies, it just changes shape. So
that's what they use in that movie.
Yeah, right? So like the whole message was it's really not Michael Myers, right? Like if it's not Michael Myers, it's somebody else. So they basically just said Michael Myers is useless, like he's going to go off and die, but eventually the evil's just going to transfer to something else.
It's gonna be,
but you don't like. This is not the way. It wasn't the way to tell that story. You could have had that message in a different,
almost like have that message, but just don't have Michael in it then at all.
No, exactly.
Like, well, they kind of did that with Halloween 6, right? Wasn't that the whole point? For it was supposed to be.
Well, it was like he has to kill his family for the good of mankind, and then it's almost like it's what.
That was where he was controlled by some crazy druid magic. Right. But like this,
he's controlled by a crazy.
He is. He is.
It tells him what to do every day.
Yeah.
It glows. It glows when he gets close to Halloween.
It says kill for him.
Yeah. I swear he's gonna kill me on this podcast. It's gonna be Destiny.
One sec. Episode 11. I'm thinking about it. But
so, did you like a big thing I hear when people discuss Halloween movies is the mask? There wasn't much change in this mask from.
I didn't even like the mask either. I think
it was
just too beat up.
You didn't like it?
I don't know. It's like I can't figure out what I just didn't like Michael in this one.
Yeah, there were moments like there were
mannerisms were different.
Well, if we get back to real quick the plot where it's how Corey finally meets Michael, right, and gets he gets knocked over a bridge by these band geeks again, right, and then someone pulls him into the sewers, which
the old man.
I think it's presumably
it's 100% Michael.
It's Michael
pulls him into.
But then I'm thinking to myself, all right, so Michael pulls him into the sewers, and then he's in the sewers. And he decides to go into this little crevice and wait for the guy to wake up, only to grab him. Like, why don't you just wait out in the open and wait for the guy to wake up? But and then I think someone showed me the meme. It's like if only Corey had just bought the Band Geeks beer in the first place,
yes.
None of this would have happened.
I sent you that earlier. Yeah. It's literally if the Band Geeks, if he bought them beer, the credits would have rolled, right?
Yeah,
because he would never been in that situation.
Yeah.
So the vibe of this movie was off. Michael, his mannerisms just wasn't the same. He wasn't stalkerish. It was weird. He has, I guess, the evil is passed on to Corey, and Haddonfield is now what was supposed to be cursed because everybody is on edge all the time. People, they think everything is Michael Myers, which is stupid because if you erase everything, this guy had one night and murdered. What, in 1978, like so many years ago?
Right.
This whole town is not post-traumatic stress.
Everybody's committing suicide in the beginning. It was this.
If they said he came back if they included every previous Michael Myers movie, then they'd have a point.
Yeah.
But it was kind of stupid to go that way.
Well, and then they think they underutilized certain characters that I think that people started to like. Right. I like Hawkins a lot.
He was barely in the movie.
There's no Loomis type, is there?
Hawkins was great in the first one. I thought he died. They brought him back.
They brought him back because he was a fan favorite.
And then he was. I thought the first opening sequence of kills with Frank Hawkins as a young cop was great.
Awesome. That was the best. I think of the whole trilogy, that flashback scene. The best scene in the entire trilogy.
I said the opening scene where the kid fell, and then the flashback was pretty good. Then they just started tanking it.
I think that the flashback scene was the pinnacle of David Gordon Green's entire trilogy. The 2018 was good, but I didn't think it was at the level of 78. Yeah. Right?
No, nothing will be, but they hit everything they were supposed to do.
They did. They did.
To check the box.
It should have been done there, right? But they made too much money. They had to go into the sequels were spawned.
Because Jamie Lee Curtis isn't really getting booked for many other roles now. I don't think so. She just gets paid by Activia.
TVA.
Yeah, right.
She is the original Scream Queen. Did you like her in this? I think she's just become increasingly more annoying.
I did not like her in this. I think she was, like she said, she's became liberated, but just it didn't make sense.
Right.
It's I can understand it if it was a different storyline leading up to that, but just everything that happened, it just didn't make sense. Like the way she's acting towards Frank in the grocery store, like I like your hair or something. Like that.
She's twirling her hair.
She's twirling her hair.
Yeah, like she's trying to like loosen up finally.
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, but like
well, she's like happy-go-lucky, like she's back to normal. But yes, like we touched on this earlier, he's still but his body wasn't found. He wasn't arrested.
Been murdered.
And your daughter was just brutally stabbed. Yeah. And it's just you both moved on. Even Allison, like as messed up as she is in this movie, she's not like she's kind of just moved on. What is she in a nursing job?
Why does everyone blame her? Why is everyone blaming Laurie in this one? Like almost like she, like you see the woman in the parking lot at the grocery store. Like,
somehow she summoned Michael to come back.
No, it was Sartain that let him out. Like she had nothing to do with this. Honestly, she tried to fight him. Like that to me even seemed like no. I mean I don't.
Well, the movie before this, the townfolk had their chance to kill him, didn't they? But they all let him go. I honestly forget how that ended.
They tried to kill him, right, and then he got back up, and it's so weird
just doesn't die.
Because they went with they tried to humanize him, then they made him supernatural again, and then they really humanized him to the point where they just made him insignificant, right? So it was weird. Like the first one, he was human. Second one, he was superhuman, and the third one, he was garbage. Yeah. Right.
He was like an old man.
It was such a strange Halloween movie. It's a horrible way to.
It's in the title ends. So they are done with it because
this trilogy.
This is, I mean, he's been killed 1,000 times in these movies,
supposedly.
But I don't mean to jump the gun too much. But they all gathered around and watched his. I guess it was a chipper or a grinder or something.
Yeah, it was like they went to the dump or whatever. It was the metal scrap.
And you knew it was legit because it was kind of like the entire town was behind Laurie watching. There's another movie I think they got an influence from. It was the last. Movie in the Howlin' franchise where all the townfolk killed the werewolf at the end. Remember, they're all just there waiting. Yeah, so they all watched Michael go
He's
through
always
that.
Trying to squeeze in the Howlin' franchise.
Well,
it is in every episode.
Well, if anybody who knows horror knows that had a huge influence on a lot of other slashers.
Did you know that actually the Halloween 7 was released the same year as Halloween 6? Curse of Michael Myers?
I knew that it was released the same year as Dumb and Dumber, and that's why it failed at the box office.
Folks, you're not going to hear that information in any other horror movie podcast review. That's why our numbers are just ticking up.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Records.
We're setting
off
records.
The charts.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to give a movie a little break. You got to revisit. Do you think you're going to be revisiting this anytime soon? Because you said something profound.
So
I don't want to watch any Halloween movie.
Yeah,
I did. I watched it again today. For the second time, just hoping that I might, come back around.
You're just praying so hard.
I am. I'm actually.
I was the same.
I'm kind of hurt by this.
You kind of want to send them a message, don't you?
Well, it's like, look, I wasn't expecting a perfect movie by any means.
Yeah.
But that's just not the way to do a Halloween movie. It's just, I can say this over and over again for 45 minutes if you want me to, but it's just poorly executed, and I don't understand. Did COVID screw this up? Like, was it supposed to be something different?
Well, yes, it was supposed to.
The
third one was supposed to occur on the same night. It was supposed to be the same night, and then they rewrote because of COVID. Because I know that filming got delayed, right? So filming got delayed almost a full year. I'm pretty sure.
Well, Michael's always very compliant with keeping his mask on, so that was always good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you think there was any good kills? There was one that just stood out.
Some good
that DJ.
Yeah, but again,
when he he's so powerful. Michael broke his jaw or something.
That wasn't Michael.
Oh, was that Corey?
Yeah. So
Michael only kills 3 people in the movie. He kills the cop who goes in the sewer. He kills the girl who's sleeping with the doctor, and he kills Corey at the very end.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you guys picked up on this in the second time. The cop was in the flashback scene in Kills.
Delaney.
The Mulaney.
Or Mulaney. Yes.
I picked up on that the second time.
Did he deliver that line that everyone's entitled to one good scare? Don't they always say that?
That's Eddie Brad's.
He was bullying Lonnie, so that means that guy's probably 20 years older than Allison. And Allison was for some reason with him.
Yeah.
And they did not utilize any great horror movie, especially this franchise, is the score. They really did not have many moments where they had even that simple touch of the piano.
Yeah.
Or just...
That's true.
There was no, like, sheet... You know how it appears in the back and you hear the...
Yeah.
There was no stalking in the whole movie.
That is what really, I think, made this franchise... If you took the score out of any Halloween, imagine the first one, it's just not the same without it.
No.
Yeah.
So, like, but they didn't even, like, use that. They used different music.
Yeah it was really weird.
Like, did John Carpenter suddenly just
and he
not
did,
give the rights over to this?
He did the soundtrack to it. He wrote it with his son.
I mean, in the
Play the hits, John Carpenter.
Yeah.
You're going to see the Stones, you want to hear Start Me Up. I don't want to hear anything off the new one. Just play...
Right.
Your original soundtrack was so good.
Yeah. But here's the thing, right? Like, Michael is barely in the movie. So it's like, he doesn't show up for, I think, like 40 minutes.
Right.
So you're watching this movie. I'm sure you had the same reaction, right? You're watching the movie and all of a sudden you're like, we're halfway through this thing and like there's been nothing on Michael Myers. Like, where is he? What's he doing? And it's like he shows up and then you're like, he shows up and it's like, why is he even in the movie?
You texted, like, you're like, I'm 45 minutes into this and this is a heap and pile of garbage. And I was like, it's bad when you actually have to break concentration.
Yeah.
Yes, like I audibly thought that.
Because I was cracking up. It reminded me when we watched the last Halloween or before this where it started off good and then we were watching in your backyard and then it just got so bad and me and Kareem and I'm just start cracking up because
the hospital scenes.
You wanted it so bad to be
Listen, I like as bad and disjointed as Halloween Kills was, I enjoy revisiting that movie. Like I watched that movie. I'm not gonna lie, I've watched Kills maybe like 4 or 5 times, and I enjoy it. Like it's like a guilty pleasure.
Correct.
This movie is like I was suffering through it trying to like it.
The beauty about this whole franchise, they've made some duds or quote unquote bad ones. Some of these rankings I don't agree with. Like we were just saying,
I would love to rank the series in the future. By the way,
we're not. We got a lot to get into, but the 6 was really good, but. I don't think this is going to be one that it's ever on repeat that I could just... Well, I'm just going to turn it off.
Oh, yeah.
No. There's
bad Halloweens. I watch them all. I don't think I'm going to be... Because there's too much budget, too much time putting this for it to... Like, older movies have an excuse to be bad. Like, that was...
$3 million.
That was the 80s, and it didn't matter that it was stupid.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question. If you went into this movie not knowing it was a Halloween movie, would you have liked it?
No.
Let's just say remove Michael Myers from the movie and it's just called like Haddonfield or something like that where they released it 3 years from now. Would you have liked the movie?
No, I didn't like the movie. It painted Haddonfield to me. Haddonfield always seemed like a nice place to live, and it just so happened to be a bad thing happened. This seemed like it was like the underpants of Haddonfield. Every shot, if you think about it, was shot nicely. But it seemed like they were like it was the back alley of
I do like the bar scenes in these latest movies. I just love
By the way, speaking of the bar scenes, okay, the only scenes like so Lindsay Wallace. Can we talk about the fact why was she even in the movie?
Yeah. She's not even
She like read some tarot cards, showed up she wasn't even at the procession at the end.
No.
Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Like one of the main characters from the old school Halloween movie was not even there to see him die. Like, I guess she was filming.
So there's no way they're not going to make another one, at least with this director, because because he was grinded up.
Yeah. We know it's coming back, right? Because I mean, I think the movie made $50 million, so they're going to bring the movie back in some capacity. They're just going to sell it.
We'll see, and I think that's what happens. I think in a way, part of me thinks they want to piss enough people off to the point where they're going to want another Halloween movie. If it was so good that it ended, people are like, oh, I don't need to see any more Michael Myers again. This is, in a way, it's a chance to make more cash.
And it's weird because if you look at 78 going back, how much you don't need to make him good, how much money you don't need because it's such a simple formula.
Yeah. Oh my God.
78 was on, I think, last night, and I'm watching. I'm like, man, this movie, even outside of horror, is a really great movie.
It's a
It's-
slow
it's-
movie.
It's my favorite. I think it's my favorite horror movie.
It is. And
of all
number two,
time.
and number two had that same effect too. But
I
it's
think
kind of like,
two is great.
but
great.
there's not any other movie where it's kind of like, oh, I love the version back in '78 because usually everything's cheesier and cornier and bad effects. But this movie did not require a lot, and I think this is where they've kind of lost on that.
Yeah, they try to get too.
I don't need to know anything about
Well, here
Michael.
we go,
That was
right?
the mystery behind Michael Myers was there was no reason. He was just stalking just because.
Well, that's why, like, I think honestly, the whole appeal of the whole franchise is the mystery of Michael Myers, right? Everybody's like, what motivates him, right? So everybody's got a different theory, and in this, they just, I don't know, they just totally shit on everything that is Michael Myers, and they just say, okay, well, evil changes shape. That's the whole thing in this movie, and I want to go back to that one scene when you guys, want to get there, and I want to talk about like how that impacted your view on this movie. Like, do you know the scene I'm talking about?
No.
Yeah.
We know it happens in the sewer.
Yeah.
And he goes in, right? And Michael Myers is standing there like derp in the back of the sewer.
Like
It's
a puppet.
It's a still shot. Corey walks in, literally manhandles him, like just makes him his bitch, and then takes his mask. And then he says, like, you're just an old man in a Halloween mask, and takes his mask, and then he's Michael Myers.
Yeah.
So stupid.
It's the weirdest.
So,
it's the weirdest scene. After that, I was just like,
I heard it was a rumor. They said because it's to go back to like Halloween 3, the powers of the mask.
Okay.
Did you hear that? Because remember, like it's the mask that's cursed.
But the mask
I don't
isn't
think it's
cursed
the mask.
in Halloween 3.
No, they just has that.
It's got the thing that's just meant to kill kids.
yeah.
It's a witch who's trying to. It's a male witch that's trying to just kill.
I just think
Maybe it was very
the
progressive for its time.
right, like the
It was a
message.
male witch.
I like that movie a lot, actually.
I need to go back and rewatch.
It's
Halloween.
good.
It's
It's
been
good.
a while.
We're gonna review that on another cast. I got some mixed feelings about that one, but I would go back and watch that before I watch this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm gonna revisit this one. It's just how broken up it was.
Yeah.
How just it wasn't easy to follow. It was just dumb.
Well, and I just, like I said, I don't think I'm just going to rattle them off. I didn't like Laurie in this one. I didn't think she was a good character. I didn't even like Frank in this one. The scenes they had of Frank, he was just a dope too.
it was a throwaway.
Allison was annoying in this one. She blamed her grandmother for all this, yet she absolutely loved her grandmother in the second one.
Right.
It was by her bedside the entire time, which makes no sense to me. Wait, but the Corey, I didn't like Corey, especially when he got possessed. He started talking more weird. Like,
Those glasses came off. He was bad, Corey.
yeah.
You know what though? Like, it was such a missed opportunity because, like, if they were going to commit to this, I was thinking, like, if you're going to commit. Because one, like, once it transferred, he was still kind of normal. He was still talking. He was still like, he still has. If it transferred over to Corey, right?
Yeah.
And then he became like this psychotic Michael-like character, right? Where he was stalking and he went out and he was a mute, right? Like, I think that would have
he's
helped
not a
the
mute
movie.
to begin with.
Honestly, I think that he should have been the one. Like, if they were going to commit to this story, he should have been the one to kill Michael Myers, and then he kind of takes over.
Yeah.
And then, like,
Leave it open and it's for him to come back.
exactly. Like, why would they commit to this just for Michael to come back and then struggle, kill him, and then okay, now we have to conclude this in the next 10 minutes, and then they have a fight in the kitchen.
Well, and then here's where I also had a horrible feeling about this as to why did you go this route, right? Halloween Kills. We know you can't kill Mike the Boogeyman, right? Halloween Kills. Everyone meets him in that street, shoots him, beats him up, stabs him, yada, 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 after he's already been burnt, I don't know, shot in other areas of the movie.
Yeah.
Comes back, full power, kills everyone, disappears. You go to this very end of this movie, Laurie Strode fights him,
yeah.
puts a refrigerator against his knee, and then stabs him in the hands, and all of a sudden he's like, it's almost like he's defeated, and she slits his throat and slits it, and
Like, take his head
and
off.
real slowly. I hate it. She just slices his wrists, and then he's dead. Like,
Also,
wait a minute, that killed him?
Yeah.
leave the mask on, please. Like, they love taking the mask off. And
They never show his full face.
But James Jude Courtney, like, as great of a Michael Myers as he is, like, with the mask off, like, the dude's, like, he doesn't look
Was
scary.
he the one in the 78? Is that the same?
No.
Different guy.
I was going to say, because I read something the other day, there's one scene where you kind of see Michael's face in 78 Remember they take
That's
it off?
Tony Moran, right?
That's Tony Moran, yeah.
And his eye was deformed because he actually got poked in the eye, there was some story behind that.
It was the knitting needle, right?
Yeah,
No. It was the closet.
But he really did.
No, Tony Moran doesn't truly have that. I met him.
He doesn't have any deformity, but he wasn't supposed to have a deformity. Some people thought, oh, he's like a Jason, he's like deformed. Like, no, there wasn't. There was actually
he was like an angelic character, right? But like it was weird, like seeing even in the first one. I thought they showed him without the mask too much. He's got like a bald old man.
I thought that was okay.
I wasn't.
Really
I think you should leave the mask on.
I think they shouldn't have put the mask on after, or should have left the mask on after the 2018 version. Yeah. But I thought the 2018 version, before he escaped, and when he was in the bathroom stall and he kills the 2 reporters,
right?
I think that was fine. And then after that, I didn't have to see his face again. Yet.
That's the mask right there, right?
That's 2018.
That's 2018.
But it's the same one now.
Yeah, but it's all magnet now.
What would you say was the worst mask?
Halloween 4 and 5.
4 or 5. Now, what's the deal with the mask? Is there a copyright to it that they couldn't just keep the same one from the original?
I just don't think they have the same production. Well, there was only one mask.
Like, didn't Shatner?
Yeah, it was William Shatner's face.
So yeah, like Shatner, I think has some kind of claim on
that was
after
his original face.
He had no clue. Shatner for the longest time had no clue.
I wouldn't know it unless you told me. I'm like, I guess I can kind of see that. There was a meme where they gave him hair. It looked just like Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, yeah, it kind of looks like that. But I do remember as a kid, it was as a kid that was a little freaky just because it was so white and plain.
Yeah,
it was.
But that does like the dirtier mask and the fire charcoal.
Let's just to fully bring this full circle. Let's introduce Sean. You may know the spooky meter, but let's just go through it.
I think I know the spooky meter.
Well, let's just in case our listeners haven't heard of it.
We have a lot of new listeners out there.
So from the bottom up, there's spookless, which is basically just the bottom of the barrel, right?
Yes.
Not scary, not very good.
No element of anything even entertaining.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's not too spooky. It's with a 2, not too.
Is this still patent pending, by the way?
No.
Our lawyers.
There's.
I'm starting to think they're trying to
We've been sued.
Do you know how much it costs just to have a conversation with my lawyer on the phone about this? It's getting ridiculous.
No, I don't know.
But I'm not tapping out of this one. Not too spooky means there was one element. Like there could be. You ever watch a movie that just wasn't that good, but there was one scene.
It's mediocre.
There's one scene that kind of all right where it has potential, and then there's spooky.
The spooky,
which is good.
Okay,
that's a good movie.
That's the average way.
Good.
That's the average good horror movie.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's way too spooky,
which is tough to hit.
It's tough to hit, but it holds something special in your heart.
So way too spooky is like Halloween 78. All right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say so. Yeah.
All right.
So what would you? What do you give it?
I'm going first.
Yeah, I think so.
I would say, as a Halloween movie, this is 100% a spookless movie.
Okay.
It's 100% spookless. If you go into this expecting a good Halloween movie or a good conclusion to this trilogy, spookless. If you go into it and this had no connection to Halloween, or if it was some kind of anthology film, it would be not too spooky.
Right.
Because I think like the story is good, right? Like if this was not connected to the end of this movie, I think the story's decent. The acting's good. I actually, contrary to what you guys think, I think Corey did a good job. Like the actor who played Corey, I think he did a good job. I kind of liked his character. But I hated what they did with Michael Myers. I hated what they did with the end of this movie. So
I guess I need to watch it 3 times in 24
You do.
hours.
Like watch it 1 or 2 more times. Take a look at it.
Watch it in reverse.
Disconnect it from Halloween, and then it's a not too spooky movie.
But
as a Halloween movie, this is 100% a spookless movie. If you're going into this thinking you're going to have a satisfying conclusion, you're wrong.
I would venture to agree with you. However, I think, it's spookless as a Halloween movie. As a non-Halloween movie, if I went to it, it doesn't deserve to be in a theater. It deserves to be it was streaming, obviously, but it was also this is like a Netflix movie at best.
That's true.
In my opinion.
I saw somebody say it was a Tubi movie at best.
Tubi. Maybe. Or what's even worse than Tubi? Like
Tubi's free. I don't know. Peacock? No,
Peacock. I don't think there's anything worse than I think Tubi.
Tubi's actually not that bad.
I
I gravitate to Tubi for a couple movies. that I think is just there by glitch.
Yeah. they're not making any money on it, so
yeah,
why not? But yeah, I would say I would give it a spookless and not too spooky if it was not a Halloween movie, but it doesn't deserve to be in theaters at all.
I'm not surprised by that because usually I go to you for recommendations on scary movies. I kind of have similar taste to Chris. So his movie, we kind of align. So I'm not surprised.
Wait a minute, you guys just aligned? Your tattoo's glowing right now.
His tattoo's glowing. I have one on that.
It's the Druids.
Yeah.
I would rate this movie. Mind you, I don't ever watch a Halloween movie and like, oh, this is going to scare me. Because I watch it just because I like the vibe.
Yeah.
So the movie never really scared me. The first one did maybe a little bit as a kid. I'm just going to say spookless because they didn't check any of the boxes that I want out of the Halloween franchise.
Is this the first triple spookless that we've had in a movie?
Dude, 3 spooklesses in a row. I mean...
it's so...
That's what...
I hear this movie is divisive. I hear there's people who love it. I hear there's people who hate it.
LeBron James loved it.
Yeah.
What's up? I don't know. I guess he was just giving some love to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, by the way, doesn't LeBron James kind of inadvertently own the rights to Friday the 13th? Really? I heard this. I heard that LeBron James is somehow some kind of part owner in the Fridays franchise.
Good. You should bring it back then.
You know what?
So maybe he's just looking for some publicity.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Do you think they're ever gonna? Because they did this with Jason and Freddy, with Freddy versus Jason. Do you think they're ever gonna cross worlds? Has he ever been crossed with another slasher in a movie? Was it Jason in Space? He wasn't even in that.
They did Jason versus
Freddy.
Yeah.
Which it's kind of the guilty pleasure.
Oh, absolutely. I like that.
I think it's a pretty good movie.
It's a good movie.
You know, I gotta admit, I've watched bits and pieces of both Jason, Friday the 13th, and Freddy, because I would say the big 3 is Michael Myers, Jason, and Freddy, right? As far as slashers are concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another little clown who's making his way up the ranks here.
Yeah.
But
deservedly so too.
The Halloween franchise was always just the one, and I think it's just because it's Halloween. It's always on the same time every year.
Yeah. It's so.
They play this on Fear Fest more than anything, especially the week of.
Yeah.
It's just they play all of them. I could sit on a couch on a rainy day in October and just watch them.
I would say that if you're a completionist, you want to see the series through, then watch it. But other than that, I would say skip it. It's spookless.
You have to. I mean, you're never going to skip a Michael Myers.
You gotta watch it just to see how it ends.
It's not
but you're not going to be satisfied if you're a true Halloween fan.
If they ended Halloween 2018 and that was the end where he was burning up,
that would have been a great ending.
That would be great.
That was a good return to it.
Even Kills. I honestly think even Kills, because in the alternate ending too, at the end of Kills, if you watch the extended cut. Laurie calls Karen's cell phone, and he picks it up and he just breathes into the phone like he did in Halloween 78.
Yeah.
That would have been a fitting end.
Right.
Honestly.
You can't kill the boogeyman. That's the tagline. And that's, maybe that's how it ends. You just can't kill him.
So that being said, guys, I have a question for you two. The Way Too Spooky crew.
Sure.
So if I know there's all different kinds of branching paths, right, in the Halloween franchise.
Yeah.
I want to know what your definitive branch is. What is your definitive timeline?
I like the original timeline. H1, 2, 4, 5, and 6.
So you're the Thorn trilogy guy.
I like the Thorn.
We would have known that, right?
I just like 1 and 2 in of themselves. Those two. I really like 6, which gets lousy. I follow different things where they rank it. 6 is always like the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Which I
disagree with that. Yeah.
I think 6 is decent.
6 was good. It was shot well. It was fall. It was vibe. There was good kills. They got a little corny with the.
But as I've always said, think about what 5 did. Right now, the way in which Mustafa Akkad probably apparently he had a lot of control. He had all the control, and he wanted it his way. He wanted to continue with that storyline. So all that Daniel Farrens had was to go based on what 5 left him with, which wasn't much.
No.
So for that,
I
I think it's almost like you have to just take that into account. Yeah. 6 is actually pretty good considering what 5 left them with.
Well, there's so many good scenes in 6. of like Michael kills the way
His
he
mask
looks.
is great.
That he stalks.
He does the lightning, and he appears in the window, and he appears outside.
Paul,
the vibe of that movie.
Yeah. Paul Rudd was great. He's a little weird in it.
He's weird in it, but it's weird when you see Paul Rudd in it.
But I like.
Well, it's his first. I think it's his first ever movie, right?
Yeah, I like Bradford English. But I like the Strode family. You know, they're not. They're you can relate to them in some way. None of these characters I can relate to in this movie. Corey's mother, she was just.
Oh my God, Corey's mother.
Like she deserved the uncle. The uncle was as nice as his dad. Was the only one that was.
But he had some corny lines like "I hope you find what was that? I hope you find love" line. It was just.
We could talk about that for another one.
Yeah.
But I think this movie could have just redeemed itself if they did take off his mask and it was like Coyote. Or it's just a cat. It's like meow.
Or was the kid from what's that kid's thing that people love? Coco Melon.
Coco. Oh yes.
Coco Melon.
Just imagine
that would have redeemed it.
It's the Coco Melon baby in it, and there he's just singing a lullaby. All right. Well, that was it. I'm glad we finally got around.
We would love to hear everyone's reviews though and what they thought. I mean, this is a very controversial topic. I think this movie. You know,
I think this is the most divisive Halloween there is.
Correct. I do.
Like, I honestly do. Because there's people that are going to watch this and see a triple spookless and they're going to be PO'd. Yeah. You guys might get some downvotes.
Yeah. Nah, so a triple spookless.
I wonder if there's any people that think this is way too spooky, this movie. I would want to know.
LeBron James, apparently.
Yeah, God.
But...
comment below, right?
I mean, Halloween itself is coming up soon.
Don't forget to subscribe and like that. / that subscribe button. Right?
Halloween's coming up soon, so maybe we could try to squeeze you in for another Halloween movie.
I would love to. I mean, Halloween's my favorite franchise. I'd love to rank. I think ranking the Halloweens would be fun.
I think we should do a comprehensive ranking of the whole franchise.
Like a retrospective.
Yeah, of the whole franchise. We'll have to do that because we're getting crunch time on Halloween, holiday itself. So,
at any rate,
good episode. I liked it. I'm glad you could get this off your chest.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean, for coming.
Thank you. I think this was therapeutic.
I needed your opinions because you're behind me. We're next to me. You're the second biggest Halloween fan next to me, I should say. So, but thank you everyone for listening. We'd love to hear your comments.
We'll be back early next week too with something similar probably. So.
And if we don't hear from anyone, have a happy Halloween.
Yeah, stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
Bye, creeps.
Take care.